It was supposed to be a normal morning. Lucas Reed, a 38-year-old single father, had just dropped off his 7-year-old son, Caleb, at the local public school. The sun had barely risen, the roads were still quiet, and Lucas, dressed in worn jeans and a faded flannel shirt, was on his way to a nearby job site. He worked part-time doing repairs for a local construction company. His days were long, his earnings short. But his love for Caleb gave him strength to carry on. Lucas was no stranger to hardship. He lost his wife to cancer 3 years ago. After selling everything they had to cover the treatments, all that remained was a rusty pickup truck, a small rented trailer, and the heart of a man who refused to give up. Even with nothing, Lucas believed in one thing: kindness was never out of reach. But that morning, his path took a turn he couldn't have imagined. As he drove past one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the city, a gated community lined with manicured lawns and marble fountains, something on the side of the road made him slam the brakes. There, just outside the tall iron gates of a sprawling white mansion, sat a woman and a child. The woman's head was bowed, her dark hair messy and bloodied. The little girl was clutching her arm, trembling, her clothes torn and stained. They both looked like they hadn't slept in days. Lucas's heart sank. He parked the truck and approached slowly. The woman looked up, startled. Her lip was cut, her eyes bruised. The girl, no older than Caleb, had a small gash above her eyebrow. Lucas raised his hands gently and spoke in a calm voice, asking if they were okay. The woman hesitated, then nodded faintly. Through tears and whispered words, she told him her name was Marissa, and the little girl was Emmy, her daughter. The mansion behind them belonged to her husband, a powerful businessman with a public image of perfection and private habits of cruelty. Last night, after one final argument, he had thrown her out violently. She had nowhere else to go, no family nearby, and no money. She sat outside the gate hoping someone might notice. Nobody did. Until Lucas. Without asking too many questions, Lucas did what no one else had. He opened the door to his truck and offered them a ride. They hesitated. Marissa asked, "Why are you helping us?" Lucas simply replied, "Because I'd hope someone would do the same for Caleb if I weren't around." Lucas took them to his trailer, a cramped space with only 2 rooms and a leaky ceiling. But he made up the sofa with fresh sheets, gave them warm soup, and lent Marissa one of his jackets. That night, Emmy slept peacefully for the first time in days. Marissa couldn't believe someone with so little had given so much. In the following weeks, Lucas became more than a savior, he became their anchor. He helped Marissa apply for a restraining order. He connected her with a local women's shelter for legal advice. He even started waking up earlier to pack school lunches for both Caleb and Emmy, walking them together to school. The neighbors began to talk. Some mocked. Some gossiped. A few even called the police to report suspicious people in the trailer park. But Lucas never wavered. Marissa, though shaken, was determined to get back on her feet. She had once been an art teacher but had to quit after her husband forced her into isolation. With Lucas's encouragement, she started painting again, first on cardboard, then on canvases he salvaged from construction sites. Her artwork, raw, emotional, filled with hope and pain, began to gain attention online after Lucas posted a few photos. A local coffee shop agreed to display her work. Then, an art blogger wrote about her, calling her pieces "silent screams turned into color." Soon, people began buying them. As Marissa regained her confidence, Emmy blossomed too. She laughed more. She started singing with Caleb during breakfast. She stopped flinching at every knock on the door. Lucas's trailer had become something none of them expected, a sanctuary. But peace is always tested. One morning, while Lucas was dropping the kids off at school, 2 luxury cars pulled into the trailer park. Out stepped Gregory Benson, Marissa's husband, flanked by 2 lawyers and a private investigator. He had tracked her down. With a smug expression, he handed Lucas a court summons. Gregory was suing for full custody of Emmy. Lucas tried to remain calm, but inside, he was boiling. He told Marissa that they would fight this, not with anger, but with truth. And once again, he reached out to the community. Only this time, the community reached back. Dozens of people came forward, the shelter volunteers, the school counselor who noticed Emmy's emotional progress, the local coffee shop owner, and even the sheriff's deputy who had responded to past domestic calls. Everyone knew Marissa's story now, and they stood with her. At the hearing, Gregory's lawyers painted a picture of Marissa as unstable and unfit. But Lucas and Marissa's supporters painted something stronger, the truth. They shared Emmy's drawings, her journal entries, and even a video of her and Caleb singing joyfully at a school recital. The judge, moved to silence, ruled in Marissa's favor. Full custody. Gregory stormed out in disbelief. Outside the courthouse, Marissa hugged Lucas tightly. "You didn't have to do any of this," she whispered. Lucas smiled. "No. But someone had to." Months passed. Marissa's art career grew. She started teaching again, part-time, at the same school Caleb and Emmy attended. Lucas, inspired by her courage, began mentoring young boys in the community, kids growing up without fathers, without direction. His past struggles became a blueprint of strength for others. Eventually, they moved into a small house together, still modest, but filled with light. Not because of electricity, but because of love. Caleb and Emmy called each other siblings now. They argued over cereal flavors, played pretend in the backyard, and often sat on the porch listening to Lucas play an old guitar he found in a thrift store. On the one-year anniversary of the day they met, Marissa painted a large canvas with 4 figures standing in the sun, a man, a woman, a boy, and a girl, each holding the other's hand. At the bottom, she wrote, "Family isn't what we're born into. It's what we choose when love leads the way." That painting now hangs at the local shelter's front wall, a reminder to every broken soul that walks in, that sometimes the most unlikely people carry the biggest hearts. And it all began, with a poor single dad who stopped his truck when the world looked away. True wealth is not measured by what we have, but by how we give. Even when you have little, a kind heart can rewrite someone else's destiny. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe to Pure Kindness Stories. Let's keep kindness alive, one story at a time.